So here's what we're talking about today. This is yesterday, as many viewers will know, there was a massive attack on Gmail users that involved something that we really don't see that often anymore, which was a rapidly spreading computer worm. These were kind of the first iterations of computer attacks, in the early 1980s. And again, it really it isn't that often that we see these things. But yesterday there was a massive worm, affecting Gmail users, and many viewers, have probably seen this. And the thing I want to talk about today was that there's some really interesting technical components to this worm, that really show that it's a harbinger of things to come when, in terms of attacks, coming in the future. And I wanted to walk you through what some of those are, what you should look for when these kinds of things happen, and most importantly, how to remove the threat from your computer if you may have clicked these links. So some basic background is yesterday, many Gmail users received messages from people they have been in contact with in the past, encouraging them to click a Google Doc link and saying, hey, I've shared this Google Doc with you. I personally received one from my children's former daycare. And this was an entity that would send us photos all the time of our kids. So, you look at these things, and even me, somebody who covers cybersecurity on a daily basis, I mean, you're inclined to click these things, and it's because it's the opportunity cost thing. As I'm looking at this screen, what I'm thinking is not, oh, this is going to be a phishing attack. Of course, that's in the back of my mind. What I'm thinking is, these might be some pictures of my kids. And a lot of people feel the same way. And kind of the insidiousness of this type of attack is that, when somebody can compromise one person's Gmail account, one of the most valuable things in there, or really any email account, one of the most valuable things in there is the contact list. Now, that's valuable not just for targeted attacks, because of course, you're going to be more likely to click on a link from somebody but also just for spammers. I mean, people like this attack, which targeted millions and millions of people, having a list of valid email addresses is gold. People pay hundreds of thousands of dollars online for these spam lists, but so many of those accounts are out of date. What this attack did was potentially gave the attackers an unlimited number of current email addresses to harvest for spam or other purposes. So what happened was this, you'd click the link, you'd say, okay, somebody's sharing a Google Doc with me. I'll click the link, I'll see what it is. It doesn't take you to a document right away like a normal Gmail, Google Doc would. Instead, what it does is it leads you to this screen. And this is a really critical part of the attack that I wanted to discuss that I think hasn't gotten a lot of attention. What happens is after you click the initial link, it takes you to a screen like this, which says Google Docs would like to do a couple of things with your account. It would like to read, send, delete, and manage your email, and manage your contacts. And it gives you a choice. Do you allow this function or do you deny it? The thing about this page is this is a real Google page. This is not some page that the hackers made up and successfully spoofed Google. Google, like any other major email provider, has lots of APIs. These are programming interfaces that allow developers to create applications that work with your Gmail account. So, many viewers may know that, when you sign up for a LinkedIn account, it will always ask you, do you want to incorporate your Gmail account or Yahoo account or whatever? You want to pull your contacts into LinkedIn so that you can find more of your friends and business contacts. This is a really normal thing. This is a really normal and accepted thing that happens on the internet, all the time. And the point is that you have to allow this to happen. You have to click and you have to affirmatively state, I would like for this integration to occur. Once that happens, it's not a security issue anymore. It's something that you've enabled your computer and your accounts to do. And the important part of that is when this attack occurred, the attackers utilized and co-opted Google's existing technologies to create a page that is not, a convincing replica. It's the real thing. Except when you click allow, what you're allowing them to do is to give their application access to all of these things in your account. Again, read, send, delete, and manage your email, manage your contacts. I mean, that's everything that's valuable in your account. And regular viewers of this show will know that I often encourage people to use two-factor authentication, things like text message alerts, to prevent unauthorized people from logging into your account. This is the kind of attack where that doesn't apply at all. Once you allow somebody access into your account, they're just going to piggyback in there with you. So this is really the wave of the future. I talk to security experts every day, and what they tell me is this is the way that even advanced attackers will seek to compromise networks, because it's not just about the $1 million computer exploit. It's not about the most super sophisticated intelligence tool. It's things like this. If you can convince somebody to allow you into their email account, then you're home free. I should mention as well, this is an interactive show. If you've got questions, please feel free to post them below or tweet them to us. @technology is our Bloomberg Technology Twitter handle. We've got some good questions coming in, so I'll address some of those here. First one is, at what point does your account get compromised? After you click on the email, or if you're receiving it in the first place, does that mean you've already been hacked? It's a good question. The account gets compromised at this point right here. There's a lot of misconceptions about what happens when you get attacked. By and large, I mean, there are always exceptions to this, especially in computers, but by and large, what an attacker needs is for you to affirmatively do something to let them into your account. You know, Gmail is a very secure service. It's not impenetrable, but it's a very secure service. Google spends, you know, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars on its security every year. So just the fact that you got the email does not mean you're hacked at all. What it means is somebody in your contact list clicked on the email, the attackers accessed their account, and then replicated the email to you. And in fact, the attack, you don't get hacked even if you click on the first link. You do get attacked, you do get compromised if you then click allow. What that does is it allows the attacker's program to access your account, and then they send the stuff to other people. Next question here is, does the attack endanger people's personal information? Well, absolutely. I mean, this screen tells it all. If you give this attacker the ability to access your email and your contacts, you've given them your entire account. You know, and the kind of the head-smacking part of all this is, you know, for anybody who's clicked this, you'd look at it in hindsight and say, well, I just gave away all the permissions to my account. You know, and there's a lot of moralizing that happens in cybersecurity coverage, and that's not what this show is about. Because I think, you know, again, even with my personal story, you know, my kids' former daycare, my thought was they're sending me photos that we may have missed when we were there. There are very good reasons for people to click on these links, you know, and for this idea of I don't want to miss something important. The question really becomes, how far do you go with these kinds of things? Now, obviously, I didn't click through this because, you know, anytime you're going to allow, my rule of thumb is this: if you didn't ask for it on the internet, don't accept it. You know, if you didn't ask for this Google Doc, you're not expecting it, then don't click that you're going to allow it to access all your files. But yes, in response to the question, if you click this, you know, you gave the attackers full access to your account. But there's some good news here in that nobody really knows for sure yet, at least publicly, what this attack was about. And there are some signs that it may have just been kind of a prank or a test, in which case that information may not have really left. It may have just been used to spam your friends. Next question here, these are some good questions. You know, why did some people get it and some people didn't? Really simple answer to that. You know, if anyone in your contact list clicked on the link, then you will have gotten this email. If nobody in your contact list clicked on it, then you wouldn't have gotten it. And there's also another answer, which is, you know, the Twitter sphere and Google security was on this, you know, instantly. You know, by some measures, they may have neutralized this attack within an hour or less. So, you know, it's not that these attacks are kind of unstoppable. You know, Google stopped this attack pretty quickly. The problem is a lot of people were already compromised at that point, and there are many people today who just haven't checked their email yet. And, you know, more than this attack, what's really relevant about it is the technique that they're using and utilizing, you know, authenticated pages. You know, this page, again, from the attackers, this was served up by Google. You know, this is an authentic Google page. And, you know, us as cybersecurity journalists, we've had to change our advice to people. And, you know, I want viewers of the show to take away some valuable tips here about, you know, how do you detect these attacks? Because the old advice doesn't apply. You can't tell somebody, oh, if the page looks fake or it goes to some obviously fake domain, don't click on it. This is a real Google page, so how do you deal with that? And I'll have some tips later on for what those entail. Next question here is, how can Google prevent this from happening again? It seems almost impossible to fix this from a cybersecurity standpoint. Well, you know, again, as I say, Google pounced on this pretty quickly, so they were able to neutralize this, you know, again, possibly within an hour or so. Here's the problem. The problem is not that people can be attacked through email. Because, you know, if I want to attack somebody directly, you know, that is never going to be caught by a spam filter. You know, if you've taken care as an attacker to have basically clean accounts and clean computers that you're launching these attacks from, no security measure in the world, no security, you know, procedure in the world will ever catch that attack. Intelligence agencies, you know, kind of utilize this weakness all the time. But that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is, you know, the openness of the internet and, again, commingling of accounts is something that we all do, and it's something that there is a lot of value in. Like, again, if you're applying for a LinkedIn account and you're enabling a LinkedIn account, there's a lot of value in importing your Google contacts so that you can just in one click, add all your friends and business contacts. However, that kind of integration across the internet and across apps and websites creates holes like this where, Google can't just stop app developers. Well, it could, but it wouldn't. It can't just stop app developers from accessing your Google contacts. Like, if you want that capability for some application you're using, you're going to find a way to do it one way or the other. So Google's not going to turn off that feature. What it does mean, though, is that as average users, I consider myself one, it means you need to take extra care that, the old rules of cybersecurity that you may have been told just don't apply anymore. Again, the best rule of thumb is if you didn't ask for it on the internet, then don't accept it. Or if you get an email like this one that says, we've got a Google Doc to share, and in my case, my kid's, former daycare, the easiest way to validate that is to do an out-of-band communication. I could have written to the daycare center and said, hey, were you sharing something with me? Or if you get an alert from your bank saying, hey, there's been fraudulent activity, log into the account. Like, don't log in through the link, just go to the website on your own and log in, and you can verify there. It's really not too hard. It's not rocket science, but it does take an extra level of awareness that if somebody's asking you for something online, chances are it's probably a scam because Google is not going to ask for your login information again. Your bank is not going to ask you to log into your account through the email. Like, these are pretty basic security procedures, but one that bears repeating, especially given the level of sophistication of these attacks. Let me see here. There's some other great questions coming in. Let me get to a couple other points that I wanted to make here as well. Again, the most important point here is that if you have found yourself victim to this attack, which many millions of people are, super simple way to resolve it, which is go into your account settings, find the tab that says, manage the apps that are connected to your account. And again, if you see apps in there that are connected to your account, don't freak out. You probably authorize them for some legitimate purpose, and there are good reasons for doing so. However, if you see in there that Google Docs has access to your email, just delete that. Click this remove button, and you're done with it, because Google Docs will not need this access. This is not Google Docs. This is the attacker's program. And that's it. That's all you need to do. And again, I should stress that at this point, there's no public information about what was being done with this information other than spamming people and replicating this worm. However, it could have been used to steal contact information and other email data, but we just don't know if that even happened in this case. Another interesting point I did want to mention here before we get to some more of these questions is there's an interesting kind of side note here, which is one of the email addresses in the program, which doesn't take a whole lot of effort to find, is this individual Eugene Pupov. It's eugene.pupov@gmail.com. And you click one button on the email, and it brings up this email address. And that indicates that this account was associated with creating, essentially this attack, and in some way. But on its own, it doesn't mean anything. An attacker could create a fake account to create malicious software and then spam it out, and it means nothing. But what happened that was interesting is a lot of people started contacting this person, Eugene, and normally what you would expect is that goes to nothing. That's just some make-believe account that the hackers created for this attack. But in fact, somebody created a Twitter account under that person's name and started replying to these messages one by one. And what this person said was, "This is my first time tweeting. I've got to tell you the truth about yesterday's events. The emails were not a phishing scam or even a scam at all. I was simply testing out a program I'd written as my graduate final project for Coventry University in the UK. Said this is a total misunderstanding. The whole situation has taken a terrible toll on my family. My intention was not to phish or scam people. The emails were sent simply as a test." So a lot of cybersecurity experts have noted this is not authenticated. We don't know if this is real. We don't know if this is a real person. However, somebody has come out and claimed to be kind of the author of this worm, and they are claiming that this was not their intention. A funny side note here is Coventry University came out and said Eugene Pupov is not a current or former student at the university, and asking journalists to correct their articles. So there are significant questions that remain about the validity of that information. A couple more questions here, which are really good. I got an email from Google asking me to change my password. Is that real or is that a hack? In this case, don't change your password. Your password, this is not a password attack. This is kind of an authentication attack, allowing somebody else into your account. So if you got an email about this attack saying change your password, that's not going to do anything. Chances are that's an attack. Now, Google will send you messages from time to time, if there's been a security incident associated with your account. However, the most important thing to note is Google is not going to send you a link saying, click this link, give us your credentials, we'll help you reset your password. They'll give you instructions on how to do that through the main site. And most modern companies do that these days. It's just, we've been conditioned, rightfully so, to avoid clicking on links in emails that you haven't asked for. So that's the way Google will work. Google will tell you there's been a security incident, and if they believe that your password has been compromised, many websites these days will just change your password for you and force you to log in through the main site and authenticate yourself in a different way. So no, by all means, don't change your password because of this attack. And if somebody's asking you to, chances are that's a scam. Next question here is, can I make my spam filters better to avoid this? No, and the reason being, one of the most valuable currencies in the hacker realm, again, is valid current email addresses. People change their emails a lot. Many of these leaks of email addresses that we've seen in other data breaches, a lot of those are just old email addresses, AOL accounts or Hotmail accounts or whatever, just out-of-date email accounts that people don't use anymore. The value of this kind of attack is the attackers get current contact lists. And the problem with that is, you do communicate with these people on some, at some frequency. So Google is not in the business of blocking those communications. They're going to be very, very disciplined about blocking communications between people who normally communicate. So the filters there are turned way, way down. So there's nothing you can do as an individual user, really to block these types of messages from coming in, because they're coming in from known contacts. And that's really a problem for Google. And again, Google was all over this. Google spotted it, people on the internet spotted it, and Google appears to have neutralized it very quickly. So these are things that they can see, but again, the idea of somebody in your network, sending you malicious software is a very, very hard problem to crack, because unless Google knows that that's malicious software, they're not likely to block that communication. Next question here is this one of the biggest breaches that's ever happened involving Gmail? I think we should parse the language a little bit just because it's really important. What we're seeing here is not necessarily a hack of Google. It's a hack involving Google, but we're not seeing evidence that Google's servers were breached or anything like that. That would be a disaster. However, this is one of the most high-profile incidents involving Gmail, I think, that we've seen, because so many people got this message. Again, the internet was lit up yesterday with reports of people getting this message, and then every person that clicked the link, their entire contact list would get the message as well. So what we're seeing is, it's one of the biggest worms we've seen in a very long time. Hackers just don't use worms anymore because they're so loud. Some of the first computer attacks, indeed, were worms in the early 1980s. And they're just not effective as a cybercrime tool. They're just big and noisy and kind of just a nuisance. So that lends some credibility to the idea that this may have been, either a prank or a research project gone wrong. However, you can't ignore the fact that what this malicious software did was access the entire contents of your email and contact list. So we just don't have any evidence yet about what, if anything, the attackers did with that information, but they had access to it, and that's bad enough. Next question here is, if I've already clicked on it, is it best to just delete my account and make a new one? No, absolutely not. I don't think you need to go there. Again, what you need to do is go to this screen on your application settings. Sorry, I went the wrong way. Go to this screen. Sorry. Again, I'm going to find it here. I just passed it. Sorry. You go to the apps connected to your account. That's the way to remove this program. Again, we're not, Google neutralized all of the links, all of the attachments. Like, this app is not really doing anything at this point.